Hello, how's everyone doing? Hope you've been enjoying your HBL so far. Welcome to our first lesson on essay writing. Today we are going to explore the in what ways question. And here we have with me the question I posted on the Google Classroom. In what ways is Flowers for Algernon a criticism of the way society deals with mentally handicapped people? Support your answer with close reference to the play. So we'll be writing this essay together as per our usual classes where I type on the screen, except that this time you don't have to actually copy anything down. I'll be posting this completed essay in Google Classroom and you can just print it out and read it. I will be cutting most of the typing parts out, so don't worry. Okay, it's not going to be a torturous 1 hour where you sit here and hear me type out the whole essay. So let's start by thinking of the 2 points where we can use for this essay. There are 2 ways which Flowers for Algernon is a criticism of the way society deals with mentally handicapped people, and the most obvious point will be the way Joe and Frank treats him. Okay, so let's write that down. Okay, so we have Joe and Frank bullying Charlie. And the next point I would say would be the scientists. The scientists see Charlie as a experimental subject, pretty much like Algernon. Therefore, this is problematic. Flowers for Algernon is addressing this issue where the scientists see a mentally handicapped person not as a person, but as someone to exploit, someone to use in their experiment to further their theories. So there we have it. Those are our 2 points. I would advise all of you writing an essay to always list down your 2 points before you start committing to the essay, even if it's a typewritten one. Okay, it will save you a lot of time and headache. Okay, let's start with the introduction where we'll just list down the 2 points. So some of you have messaged me on Instagram to ask me how to write an introduction for this kind of essays. The short answer is you do not need an introduction. Okay, remember the introduction is mainly for an essay that asks you whether you agree with a statement. For this one, the introduction is not compulsory. Okay, it's optional, but let's do one anyway. Okay, so that's the introduction. Just very simply put, I just rephrased the question. Okay, and listed our 2 points in the most efficient manner. Okay, there's no flowery language, it's literally the question followed by our 2 points. So you can do that, okay, for those of you who are not as confident in your writing. For those who are more confident, you can write it in a more flowery way if you enjoy doing that, but you're not going to get extra marks for that. Right, let's move on to the first point. Okay, so this is our point. Okay, one way which the play criticizes the way society deals with mentally handicapped people is through showing us how badly Charlie is bullied by his colleagues. Pretty straightforward stuff. Let's pick the evidence. So for this evidence, we can use two incidents. We can use the one from scene 10 and 11 where he literally gets called names by Joe and Frank, or we can use the one where he was dancing with Ellen and he falls down and they spiked his string. I'm going to choose the one with Ellen for a very simple reason. That scene is much more painful to read. Okay, that's the one where Charlie cried and the colleagues kept bullying him because they still think he was mentally handicapped, and this shows us a lot about what they think about mentally handicapped people. Okay, so let's put down that evidence. Alright, that's our evidence. So now, as you can see, I've stopped using the very standard way of listing evidence where I go, a piece of evidence to show this is blah blah blah. Okay, now that you are in Sec 2, you should be trying to do your evidence in a more fluid manner, something that sounds more natural, that doesn't sound like a memorized essay. Okay, so here I set the context. Okay, it's the scene where Charlie was dancing with Ellen, and when he was dancing with Ellen, the rest of the colleagues felt general amusement. Okay, there's a reason why I listed this as the quote, which we will get to in a second when we analyze this. He falls down, they laugh at him, and then they offer him a drink that was drugged. Take note of the word I used, drugged. I didn't use the word spiked, because spiked, even though we all understand what it means, it's colloquial language. Okay, it's not something that you should write in a national exam. Okay, the drink tastes funny and makes him sway drunkenly to make it very obvious to the examiner that this drink had problems with it. Now let's analyze this evidence that we have provided. Okay, so this is my first piece of analysis for this evidence. This scene is a direct criticism of the way normal folks like Joe, Frank, and Charlie's other colleagues treat the mentally handicapped by showing how they pick on Charlie as a group. Okay, look at the words I use. I chose to use the words normal folks and as a group. Why? Because the question asks, is Flowers for Algernon a criticism of the way society deals with mentally handicapped people? So what I'm trying to do here is to show very clearly to the examiner that, hey, this piece of evidence shows society, okay, shows normal folks, show people acting as a group, shows society picking on Charlie. I carry on by saying Charlie's simple act of dancing with Ellen was met with general amusement. Okay, take note of how I use the quote here, which suggests that Ellen was part of the plan to mock Charlie so that everyone could laugh at him. This is a very mean thing to do, and it is a criticism of the way we treat the mentally handicapped. Okay, I directly address the question. See my thought process here, okay? I tell the examiner that, hey, society likes to pick on Charlie, okay? And then I tell the examiner how they pick on Charlie. Charlie is just dancing and then they laugh at him to general amusement. And then I relate it to the question. This is a very mean thing to do and it's a criticism of the way we treat the mentally handicapped. You should follow the same thought process when you do your essays. Okay, now let's do the analysis for the second part of the evidence. Okay, now let's look at my second piece of evidence. Furthermore, Joe and Frank offers Charlie a Pepsi that tastes funny and makes him sway drunkenly, which suggests that they drugged his drink to make him fall down so that they could all laugh at him. So again, okay, I explain my evidence. I tell the examiner that, hey, so this part of the play shows them drugging Charlie's drink and making him fall down. So why is this significant? Okay, I go on to explain that this is a horrible way to treat a mentally handicapped person, and therefore it is one way which the play criticizes the way society treats the mentally handicapped. Alright, let's move on to our second point. Let's go scroll back up. So our second point was the way the scientists see and use Charlie as an experimental subject. So let's write that down. Okay, that's our point. Nothing much to explain here, just state your point. So for the evidence for this point, I've chosen two scenes from the play. The first one is scene 6, where Dr. Strauss and Dr. Niemer have a private conversation about whether to use Charlie or not in their experiment, and they call him things like new breed and place in history, where we see the usually very nice Dr. Strauss address Charlie in a very derogatory way. The other scene would be scene 26, where Charlie says, Charlie and Algernon, Algernon and Charlie, two interchangeable experimental animals, we should be treated alike. Okay, this quote is very revealing as well, and it's very useful for this point, as we will see later when I do the analysis. So for now, let's just write down the two evidences that I have picked. Okay, so this is the first piece of evidence I'm going to give for this point. In a private conversation, Dr. Strauss and Dr. Niemer, oops, two U's here, discussed the merits of using Charlie in their experiment. Maybe I need the experiment. Okay, calling Charlie a new breed and that the experiment was to secure Dr. Niemer's place in the history books. Very straightforward. Again, remember to set the context for your evidence. Now let's analyze our evidence. Okay, so this is our analysis. Calling Charlie a new breed is derogatory and dehumanizes him. Okay, if you do not know the meanings of these two words, derogatory stands for insulting. Okay, it means you are looking down on someone. And dehumanizes is to make someone less than human. Okay, when you call someone a cow or a pig, it's dehumanizing. Okay, you're removing their human qualities. Talking about Dr. Niemer's place in the history books shows us how they only value Charlie as a stepping stone in their careers. Okay, so here I talk about how I go into detail about the quote I have chosen. Okay, new breed. The word breed is very dehumanizing and derogatory. And Dr. Niemer's place in the history books mean that they only value Charlie as a stepping stone in their careers. Okay, they see Charlie as a way to make themselves more famous. And I link it back to the question. Okay, therefore, this is a criticism of the way society sees the mentally handicapped as experimental subjects for us to improve and for scientists to earn glory. Okay, so again, same thing. I have the evidence. I analyze the evidence and then I link it back to the question. Okay, it is all very fluid. It all links together and doesn't sound very artificial. So you should strive to achieve that. Okay, so now let's look at the second piece of evidence that I've chosen about Charlie and Algernon being the same thing. Okay, nothing much to explain here. This is the evidence I've chosen. When Charlie says two interchangeable experimental animals, we should be treated alike. after the science convention. Just a simple context for our evidence. Now let's analyze this. Okay, so this is our analysis. Charlie is aware of his status as an experimental subject and he compares himself to Algernon as interchangeable experimental animals. Okay, he is aware. Okay, how do we know? Because he himself says that him and Algernon are two interchangeable experimental animals who should be treated alike. Why is this a problem? Because it means that the way Dr. Strauss and Dr. Niemer had been treating him has been problematic. It is too obvious to Charlie that he was just an experiment. And I go on to say that this is a terrible thing to experience as a person. And it's one way that the play criticizes the way society treats the mentally handicapped. Okay, so let's recap my thinking process. Charlie is aware of his status. Okay, I'm explaining the quote. Okay, when he says two interchangeable experimental animals who should be treated like he is aware. And why is his awareness a problem? Because if he is aware, it means that Dr. Strauss and Dr. Niemer had been too obvious when they treat him as a experiment. And therefore, when someone feels like they are just an experimental subject, it is a terrible thing to experience, and therefore this is a very big problem with the way we as society treat the mentally handicapped. Okay, evidence, explanation, and then I link back to the question. So that's all for today's essay lesson. If you enjoyed it, please remember to smash that like button. I'll be uploading this entire essay on Google Classroom so you don't have to look at the screen and frantically try and copy down everything that is in this little YouTube window. Okay, I'll see you all when school reopens. Stay safe and stay at home. Bye bye.